It is Thursday, October 2nd, and this is Irish Illustrated Insider. I'm Tim O'Malley, joined by Tim Priester of Irish Illustrated, Pete Sampson, The Athletic. We have Jack Freeman in the production studio, and you, the Irish fan, ready to predict another half hundred for your Fighting Irish against Boise State, because it always carries over, right, Priester? But before we get into a preview of the, I guess, three-touchdown underdog Broncos, you guys have anything, a quick review of Marcus Freeman's recently concluded press conference? I will break the news again from last March that they are wearing green.
You're dressed for it, O'Malley. I appreciate you
Yes,
showing up to this
I went that
podcast.
way. I went that
Well,
way.
the best news is that Leonard Moore has been practicing this week, and he said he thinks he'll make a contribution. I will take that on face value and figure that is an accurate assessment. It'd be great to have him back. High ankle sprains suck, and it's when you saw the hit that he took, we all thought it was a knee. This is better than a knee, but it's been enough to keep him out of the lineup. So I think it comes at a good time, although just about every offense that Notre Dame is facing in the past here, the past month and coming up, have really good passing games, and Boise State is included in that. Maddox Madsen is, not the prettiest quarterback, but he gets the job done. He's got some receivers. So that would be at the top of my list of news from Marcus Freeman, in addition to wearing green this weekend.
Is Leonard Moore available for USC? That remains the entire story with him for me. Like, it'd be great if he can get 10, 15 reps this weekend, maybe 30 reps against NC State, and then you're good to go against USC. That's what's most important. So I guess, Leonard Moore's availability is interesting in like how much they limit him, with an eye on October 18th.
I read availability as, this is maybe in the hopeful realm we talked about prior to, the score's 14 all, and it's first and goal at the 10-yard line for Boise State. Can Leonard Moore go in the boundary and shut down one side because he doesn't have to run more than 20 yards? If it's 14-0 and Boise State's down to the first and 10, maybe Leonard Moore isn't needed. Like, that's available to me. Fourth quarter, shoot, they're down 10. Leonard Moore needs to be available.
Yeah.
Because there's a really good line of questioning, and I know where it came from with Mike Berardino this week. It was pretty smart. He asked Jordan Faison about high ankle sprains from the past.
Yeah.
And obviously we interviewed Faison, but that made a lot of sense. Faison said, it's incredibly painful, and the hardest thing is when you're back, and Faison came back, I'm counting it up right now, exactly 4 weeks later, Louisville, he tweaked it again. Then it was another 4 weeks. The injury is something you can re-injure. So if it's 14-0, I don't want to see Leonard Moore. If it's 17-14, I want to see Leonard Moore. And Berardino and Faison are actually joking. They're like, we should call it something different, because when you say you sprained your ankle, everybody's like, oh, he's got a sprained ankle. He's like, no. It can really be bad.
Yeah, I think the best news, if he actually did practice this week,
right?
Okay, now here you're going. And it was suggested that, just save him for USC. Well, you don't want to throw him in there after being off for a month, but if he's practicing this week, he goes through pregame, a few snaps or whatever, and then be able to escalate it a little bit more against NC State. Well, now he can hit the ground running against USC. But just the fact that he would say he thinks he can help this week, which may or may not be true. The fact is he's practicing, and so he's getting a heck of a lot closer than he was the last 2 weeks.
We did not ask about Donovan Heinisch, but I'm sure that will be a game time situation just to monitor from the press box. I checked our friend Tim Murray, who's been on the show before, sent out a tweet today. Notre Dame is the best cover team in the nation, guys, over the last couple of years, since the start of Marcus Freeman, 30-14-2, which is insane. Under Freeman against G5 teams, technically Boise State, they are 4-6 versus unranked G5 teams, 1-6 with 2 losses. It's the strangest thing. The one difference is, and I saw this in the comments, I have to be reminded Boise State's not a Power 4 team at this point with all the conference realignment. Of course, they're the most famous non-Power 4 team. But I don't know if Boise State falls in the category of falling asleep at the switch when you're a Notre Dame player getting ready.
So, again, just to clarify, you're talking against the spread. I'm not sure you actually use that.
Yes, 30-14-2 against the spread. But they've lost outright twice to unranked.
Yeah.
Teams. So it's just crazy.
Just on the surface of things, and I haven't completely decided what I'm going to pick, but just in principle, it's hard for me to pick against Boise State getting 20.5. I don't care who they're playing.
Right.
It wouldn't matter. Just principle, you wouldn't pick that. But yet, as you look at this, and there's a lot of talk. I asked Marcus Freeman today about, the blitz package and the pressures at Boise State, and he was really genuinely complimentary about how disciplined they are in staying in their lanes. That's great. It's on the back end where they're going to have trouble against Notre Dame. If the blitz is picked up, I can see Jordan Faison having a big day against this team, because if you do pick it up, you're going to look for your hot throws, and he'll be available for that.
Yeah, I guess we'll get into the offensive line later, but yeah, Boise's pressure and what they're going to bring, I feel like Notre Dame at this point should feel fairly comfortable with that, and I think it fits into the G5 losses where the offensive line didn't really have its stuff together. Northern Illinois, Marshall, Cal. Some of these earlier games, I think after the last 2 weeks, the offensive line kind of has its stuff together where, Boise State might throw a lot of inventory at Notre Dame. But I think that Notre Dame will be prepared for the inventory.
I think they will too, Pete, but Boise State does it really, really well. And they do it at 100 miles an hour. It's like, they know what gap they want to go through, and they really hit it. So it'll be a challenge. But I would agree. I think that Notre Dame's offensive line should be ready for that. It's like the second week in a row. I'm not going to say that Boise State's as bad at tackling on the back end as Arkansas, but they had problems with it last year, and they went to the playoffs.
I was going to say it's like the whole secondary's back, but they weren't good at tackling last year.
Well,
you don't always get that much better, right?
They did lose two of their safeties that played prominently, but they got a couple good safeties. But they've got a nickel Banks. He's not good, man. He's going to struggle against Notre Dame.
Well, another key is Jaden Mickey will not play, I don't think, in this game. You don't get carted off much and go to protocol and play. Good news is he's going to be able to make the trip to Notre Dame. He recently said, Drew Mentok put a story up, I would not miss that. I will not miss the trip no matter what, return to Notre Dame Stadium. They were very complimentary. Mickey actually didn't start the year. He took over, and they played poorer teams than South Florida when he wasn't involved in that. But they were saying he made quite a difference when he entered their lineup. Mickey was not the greatest tackler at Notre Dame either, actually, along the way, if you want to look at it that way. Why don't we stay with this theme, because it was a question, so let's just hammer it out. Somebody was wondering, as Pete mentioned, I think the key is it's not game 2. But the question was, will the Irish protect C.J. Carr on third down at least as well as they did against A&M? He knows they'll fare better than they will against Miami, and he's discounting Purdue and Arkansas's non-existent defenses that don't matter if they rush the passer or not.
Yeah.
I think so. Now, Boise State's, they're 4th nationally in sack percentage. They were 2nd last year. It's a lot more important number than sacks, because sack percentage counts when people pass. It doesn't matter if you're not passing, you can't get the sack. So they're 4th in sack percentage, and the teams in front of them include Ohio State, James Madison that always attacks in those situations, and then I'm thinking 3 is Tennessee, perhaps. Yeah, Tennessee, because Tennessee has 20 sacks, so they must be pretty high in sack percentage. They were 2nd last year, but Priester, you mentioned Marco Notriani is their best pass rusher. I want to make sure I got the podcast pronunciation right. But they lost a huge playmaker that had 65 pressures last year. When you get 65 pressures, that is Julian Aquara at his best range. Was it Ahmed Hassani?
Yeah, it's the defensive end. Yeah.
That's a big difference. But to still be in the top 4 after being the top 2 last year, they obviously handle passing downs well.
Yeah, well, yeah, they lost one guy that had 9.5 sacks, another guy that had 6.5. That's a bunch from 2 guys.
62 pressures is insane. No, that's way up there. That Bosa was 70. Chase Young was 7. That's crazy in a season.
Yeah, Notriani, I think, he does a really good. He is effective blitzing, but as a blitz guy, but again, I think it's another middle linebacker that Notre Dame can exploit when he's on the second level. It's so difficult. They haven't you want to talk about not playing anybody, and I'm usually the last guy to say that, because you look at the individuals and you try to evaluate them that way. But they have not played anybody since South Florida. South Florida, Yeah, and now that's a little bit deceptive because they had 3 turnovers, which all cost them. They had a fake punt for a touchdown go against them, but they had 25 first downs to South Florida's 15. But the turnovers really killed them in the punt, so they just weren't effective. I don't know how the heck they got 25 first downs because when you watch it, it doesn't look like they were going to do that.
Because they were getting beat for a while too. I mean,
yeah,
wouldn't you guess 14 of them were 15 or in the second half? Like that's part of it.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, probably. But I just don't want to discount them. I wrote a story yesterday because Marcus Freeman said on Monday, Boise is second in college football in wins since 2000. So I start looking into it, and you start to look at the evolution of their program, which is really fascinating. I mean, how the hell do you get as good as they are in Idaho? I mean, in Boise. Boise's a huge city, and but then you start looking at their players, and they won battles with North Texas and Sam Houston State, and some of these guys, the guys that are the prominent players for Boise State, were not heavily recruited. So I think their program's a really neat story. And you can go back to 2099 with Dirk Cutter, who had their head coach, and he's the one that really got it rolling. And it's an amazing story. They're such an outlier in college football. They're so good. They destroy the Mountain West Conference teams. They've held their own. They're 5-4 against top 25 teams. So they're an interesting team. I think my headline riled a few people up because I threw Northern Illinois and Marshall into the headline. But if those teams can beat Notre Dame, I mean, this is a really good program. I'm very confident Notre Dame will win the football game, but you can't discount a team that lost by 3 at Oregon last year.
Flipping sides of scrimmage, Pete. Pete, did you want to follow up on that before?
I was just to say, like on the pressures, like so, they had 29 pressures per Pro Football Focus against Eastern Washington. They had 14 against USF, which is basically that's about what Notre Dame had at Miami. I think they were credited with 11. So I don't know if anyone would look at Notre Dame's pass rush at Miami and be like, oh, they were undeniable. Like it's the opponent adjusted expectation, I think, is important for Boise State, as it's important for Notre Dame too. But I agree. I think that Boise State has gotten right on some pretty bad teams. They've looked good doing it, but I think the competition matters.
Yeah, I think that's fair, Pete. I do. But I'm trying to look at and the reason I asked Freeman the question today was that I'm trying to look at the execution of what they do with a pass rush, regardless, like I wouldn't say regardless of success or failure, but just looking at the operation of it. They're good at it. They're pretty good at it because they do it a lot. They got a coordinator who ironically was at Nebraska, and they had a 13 sack season when he was D coordinator there. So I think he may have changed his approach and become a little bit more aggressive. Being in a Mountain West Conference where he can have a little bit more success with the talent level that Boise State does have. But I just operationally, I like the way they look rushing.
Well, on that topic, when I talked to our insider from Boise State, Nathan Carroll, he mentioned the key for Boise State's pressure is they don't always bring it. Like 1st and 10, they're not dialing up pressures. They love if they can get you into 3rd and 7, they're coming. So that'll be a nice test for CJ Carr on the offensive line because it'll be exotics on 3rd down. 3rd and obvious passing, 3rd and obvious running is where an offense and defense are either good or bad. You either win 3rd and obvious or you lose 3rd and obvious. And I think that would probably be something to watch behind the scenes. Offensively, we actually had a question kind of leading us into Notre Dame's defense versus Boise State's offense. I took a quick look, and the tight ends, so it's Louder is the starter, and Matt Wagner, both Matts. Matt Wagner is the reserve, but 30 targets to them, 22 catches, 13 first downs. That's Maddox Madsen with his 9 touchdowns and 1 pick. He doesn't have to take terrible chances. But then I looked at it, I was thinking, what's the, they don't throw deep that often. Maddox Madsen, passing tree, right down the middle. And this doesn't count, Pete, the before the line of scrimmage, because that could be the pop pass and stuff like that. So This has to cross scrimmage. 45 for 70, 735 yards, 8 touchdowns, 1 pick down the middle of the field. So inside the hash marks, he's going to attack. I only bring that up because we had 450 questions about Notre Dame's linebackers in coverage. Tim Priester, what do you feel covering Boise State's tight ends and their ability to attack the middle of the field?
I'm not sure what they're going to do with the tight end, but but your stat, I mean, to me that makes sense from what I've seen because Chris Marshall and Latrell Capels, I mean, that's where they're peppering the field with throws to those guys, crossing routes and stuff. Their tight end's interesting. I know Matt Wagner's done a good job, and he's bigger than Lauder, but I see. Why am I forgetting the name of the Penn State tight end last year?
Drew Aller.
It's definitely not Drew Aller. It's a much better one. Tyler Warren.
He should move to tight end, though.
Tyler Warren.
Tyler
Warren. Because I don't like how tall is Tyler Warren? He's not. Is he 6'5"?
No.
Maybe.
He's deceptively tall, but
that's kind of how I feel about Lauder. Is that, I mean, I'm not surprised at the targets. Wagner's pretty good too. Yeah, I think they've got offensive skill position weapons. They've got 3 running backs that are, I mean, Sherrod, you'll see just how quick he is. Now, whether he can break loose against Notre Dame, they have skill position guys, and it's going to be a challenge for Notre Dame's coverage. And the pass rush will be challenged too because it's a pretty veteran offensive line. Their best player is their left tackle. It's a good follow-up challenge for Notre Dame coming off Arkansas. What Notre Dame did against Arkansas, I mean, I realize that the program is, crumbling, is pulling apart at the seams, but to do what they did against that offense, that's really something to build upon, man.
And Notre Dame has been a little bit vulnerable in the middle, but we should also keep pointing out, I mean, they have another one now, but this is a pretty good quarterback quintet here. I mean, when Ryan Brown's easily the worst for the 5, there's been years where Ryan Brown would have been 4th out of 12. It might have been last year too. It might be one of those years actually where he might have been 4th out of 12. Not leave Brown out of it. If you're going to have these 4 guys, Beck, Reed, Madsen, and Green, that's a tough start when you're losing Leonard Moore for 2.5 of those games.
Yeah, I also like the linebackers in coverage thing. I get it; they haven't been very good. But like linebackers are kind of supposed to be bad in coverage. Like that's just not like, was JD Bertrand good in coverage? I don't remember it. I don't remember that being a real asset.
He was not a strength in coverage. No.
Yeah.
But Jack Kaiser, Dayton Osborne, yeah.
Manti Te'o ruined it for everybody. But I would say the ball just sort of found him more than he was great in coverage.
I would agree.
Kaiser was very good in coverage.
Kaiser, it's like if you were a high school safety that then moved to outside linebacker, that then moved to inside linebacker, you're probably going to be better than coverage than the middle linebacker who's always played middle linebacker.
That's why there's a nickelback,
right,
playing extensively in college football.
Yeah, so I thought rewatching Arkansas, like Notre Dame looked so much better prepared for what Arkansas was going to do. Like even kind of the junk that Petrino was throwing out there with like double throwback screen type thing, like. Mm-hmm. I was just super impressed with like their understanding of what the game plan was. And I know there's a play early on, I think it was Omega Blake's 33-yarder, where it's kind of dropped in between Drake Bowen and the 2 safeties. There are also 2 other guys running totally wide open toward the side on each sideline. So sometimes the call puts you in a bad spot. You got the wrong call on. And I think, the linebackers, I think, are probably get more stick for their coverage than they deserve, I guess is the point I'm trying to make.
Tim Priester, before we wrap up segment 1, we tend to bring up Marty Biaggi pregame all the time, and he made us look good last week. Our insider from Boise State mentioned they are bottom 10% in the overall special teams rankings. I said if that is true, they are in a lot of trouble against Marty Biaggi because that means he is going to find something.
Yeah, they were beaten by a fake punt in the opener. I don't think that this is a issue that's just cropped up this year. I think they've had trouble on special teams. I've got to give them really, really high marks though for having a kicker by the name of Colton Boomer. Who's come on? He's done a decent job this year, so they're pretty happy about that. But well, like, is there a team that Marty Biaggi doesn't go into where he doesn't have an advantage? But this one's up there as it was for Arkansas too. I think that there are, and the point about using fakes and, why'd you show it? And Tim, I think you said it the other day. It's that just makes things more difficult for opponents. Yeah. And I think, I think when we first started contemplating that, I had a similar idea. Well, why are you using it? You don't need, well, because I've got a whole lot of other things I can do. And you're looking at that, and I'm going to do an offshoot and do this. I think Notre Dame has an advantage in special teams in this game. No doubt about it.
I think if you're not good at football, you have to hide those things. But if you're a good football team, you have other things at your disposal as well. Like if your only hope of winning a game because you're a 27-point favorite is maybe you should not show your best fake. But I don't think that was Notre Dame's best fake.
And they
pretty damn good one though.
If Boise State runs a different punt return scheme than Arkansas, that fake doesn't work. So it's
they wouldn't call it.
That's lost on people that teams defend it differently and what works against one team, you couldn't save it for the next week because it wouldn't have worked anyway.
That's a good point.
Right. Well, even Faison said, I was talking to Faison, he's like, no, the call comes, we are always ready for it. We have no idea when we go out in the field. The call comes in because coach saw something and we just run it. We practiced it 100 times. Sometime we know the rule, we can go. He said, I got nervous as soon as I heard the spaceship was the call. That's what they called it. He's like, oh man, I got to throw a pass.
I think it's amazing that Marcus Freeman allows so much time to be spent on practicing those things. It's a lot of coaches won't do that because they
I don't get why though. I don't know why you wouldn't allow that. It's like when Notre Dame would talk about in basketball. Well, we practiced a lot more defense this year. That's like the half the game, so you should practice that half. I mean, that's a really important part of it.
Well, but
this is a third of the game.
No, that's a good point, but it's not. But special teams aren't half the game. They're not even 1/3 of the game. So I understand why some coaches wouldn't do it. But credit to Marcus Freeman once again being a cutting edge guy that's kind of ahead of things, and he also knows he has Marty Biaggi and a guy that's really creative is going to come up with something that's going to work.
So when Marcus Freeman was at Purdue as an assistant, he was in charge of the punt team and would annoy the crap out of Darrell Hazel to call fake punts. He loved designing them, he loved calling them, and Hazel's just like, would you shut up with this? Just leave me alone with the fake punts. So I think that I understand the cutting edge comment. This is actually who he's been for 10 years, and he just loves that stuff. So he wants to find other assistant coaches who are into it as much as he is.
You know what happens on fake punts when you have a reputation for running them? They can't rush you the same way. They can't rush the punt the same way. And when you rush a punter like crazy, Tim, like you pointed out during the Georgia game,
like Notre Dame does.
You point out during the Georgia game, I don't care that he hit him. Georgia's not going to want to punt the rest of the game. They're going to have to try to. They're going to quick kick this thing the whole time now.
Kirby Smart's declining it. I don't want it. I don't want you. I just give me the ball first and 10.
For crying out loud, we just want the ball.
We general annoyance. It creates this level of annoyance among other coaches.
My plan was to go 3 and out and punt, for crying out loud. Let me punt it. This segment of Irish Illustrated Insider was brought to you by Signature Pro Apparel, launching its debut Ragib Rocket Ismail collection, an officially licensed product of the University of Notre Dame. Founded by Notre Dame football and NFL alum Lance Legree, Signature Pro connects college sports legends to modern day with timeless polos, quarter zips, and rugby shirts. The debut collection honors Rocket Ismail, featuring the 1990 Heisman runner-up signature as the main logo, so you can wear your Irish pride past and present. Pre-orders are open at signaturepro.com, alongside the premiere of a short feature film celebrating Rocket's legacy. Don't miss your chance to own a piece of Notre Dame history. We'll be back with segment 2, Burning Up the Boards. With football season in full swing, I've been looking to find the best deal on Notre Dame tickets, both for family and friends, but also as a memorable gift idea. That's why I want to offer the sponsor of today's segment 2, SeatGeek, a huge shout out. With over 35 million downloads, SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app. There are more than 70,000 events listed on SeatGeek, including concerts, sports, festivals, and more. Whether you're an Irish fan looking for a ticket to the mid-October clash with USC or any of college football's season-defining matchups down the road, SeatGeek has your back. Each ticket is rated on a scale of 1 to 10, so you know you're getting a good deal. Look for the green dots. Green means good, red means bad. Plus, every ticket is backed by their buyer guarantee. And of course, I have a code for you all. You can use Irish10, that's all capital letters and the number 10, for 10% off your next set of tickets at SeatGeek. That's 10% off any tickets with promo code Irish10. Make sure you click the link in the description to download the app and have the code automatically added to your account so you can use it later. Thank you, SeatGeek. Our first question is a bit of a two-parter, but I edited it out just to leave a little angst in there. From T-Row 1989 and Rye Guy 0917, the defense overall has been much improved over the last 6 quarters of play. What areas do you want to continue to see improve there, and what players would you like to see take the next step over the next few weeks? T-Row wanted to make sure he pointed out, I still feel uneasy about the defense going forward.
Go ahead, Pete.
I think for good reason, T-Row. I also feel uneasy about the defense moving forward. I think continued improvement is like defensive end pass rush would be pretty high on my list. Devonta Smith availability would be on my list. I get it. It's Arkansas. But I thought he was more impactful than maybe I thought he was going to be. Just because like we hadn't seen him really do anything, even in spring practice. Just like the physical edge that he plays with, I think is significant enhancement to the defense. So, yeah, I would say, yeah, pass rush with the defensive ends, the mythical glimmering in gold idea of getting pressure with 4, like that can still get better and needs to get better. But I thought like just the understanding of what Chris Ash is asking them to do was a huge jump, and I think that might be pretty durable moving forward.
I think that's the key point there, Pete, is that, I mean, you know, we keep all these phrases that Marcus has. They had clarity last week against a really good offense in Arkansas, and the defensive back play was just so significantly better. And you could just tell by the way they carried themselves, dare I say, body language, that they knew exactly what they wanted to do. You know, like we ask all these questions about simplifying and this and that, but they played with clarity last week. There's no doubt about it. And I think it's a good point with Devontae Smith too, because have we seen that at any point?
We haven't seen him on the field at all.
We haven't seen anything like that. So, yeah, you know, he played with a degree of physicality, which I think you felt right from the opening series. He made a play on a ball the opening series. And so the DB play, if they can move forward like that, well, yeah, they can continue to get better. Pass rush, absolutely. Somebody besides Traore needs to be, you know, more consistent. He needs to be a little bit more consistent anyway. But then the defensive tackle play, and that, you know, who knew that we were going to, you know, the topic of the week was going to be Cole Mullins and Elijah Hughes. But, you know, those guys played really well. And I love the presence that Mullins has on the field. I like the way that he looks like he looks menacing when he's walking back to the line of scrimmage after the play. And his get off is tremendous. His motor, it was talked about again today. But the way the DBs played and the interior defensive line play, that can go a long way towards continuing the progress that they made against Arkansas.
The full-fledged Carson Hobbs usage in games 1 and 2 at nickel is going to remain a mystery, considering how much he has been removed from that equation now. When Devonta Smith was, we assume, healthy for the Miami game. We assume he was healthy for the Miami game. Maybe the reason he rolled an ankle in warmups against A&M is because he wasn't. He had already rolled an ankle for the Miami game, right? That is possible too, but that's a problem solver on the grass, as Al Golden used to say that you could have had out there during the Miami game, and they inserted a guy that was overmatched. Maybe, I mean, they probably miscalculated Malachi Toney's ability to impact that game from the slot. It happens too,
you
right?
know, Schuler being Schuler, and then Tay Johnson. I just love. I love watching him play. He plays with passion. He plays with intelligence.
He's not a guy toughness. Though. He's not a guy I would say, how come he couldn't play Tay Johnson against Miami? Because it was his first game, really, that would matter. No. Devonta Smith has played plenty of games to be able to play against Miami over Carson Hobbs.
So,
at nickel.
Yeah. Do you know how many snaps Devonta Smith played at Miami?
24, maybe?
Range? 37.
37?
You know how many Carson Hobbs played?
2 touchdowns?
21. You just remember those 21.
Or at least 2.
Yeah. So I think just having Devonta Smith, and I think Tim and I, we both sort of asked Marcus similar questions on Monday about inventory and simplification and like okay, what the heck does that mean? And like, well, Marcus has sort of insisted, like, hey, we're not cutting things out of the playbook. Like he said, they're kind of cutting things out of the playbook. Like Devonta Smith can handle that inventory. Like Devonta Smith doesn't need a edited playbook where you only play cover 2 a couple different ways and cover 3 a couple different ways. Like Devonta Smith played DB for Nick Saban, for Christ's sakes. I think he can handle like a bigger inventory of coverages, and I think that you kind of saw that at Arkansas.
Next question from Siggy12. First quarter of the season in the books. It's time for you guys to issue report cards. Please give a grade to the following position groups. Pete, we'll go to you first. Offensive line.
B-.
That's what I have.
I was going to give them a B for all the running, but they did help lose a game, so B- is totally fair. Interior defensive line.
C-.
I had C. Yep.
I would say both of those. I mean, considering the uptick from the last game, I'd say C then.
Edge rushers.
D.
C-, but D's probably D+. Probably. There's
Burnham
veteran
missing.
play. Yeah, there's veteran players there that have to. But again, it's like getting back to a couple of weeks ago. It's like, are these defensive ends really? I mean, as pass rushers? Okay, look,
We had them as good though. We thought they would be good.
I agree.
Oh, yeah.
No, there's no doubt. And it's BY that hasn't taken his game to the next level. I'm still confident that he will. Maybe it was too much too soon. Maybe the expectation was too high, but he did so many good things last year. Maybe some of that is creeping in from, special teams and stuff, but they got to be better. I mean, they just have to be better. I just don't know how much legitimately better can you expect Burnham, Tuihalamaka, and Botello to be as pass rushers.
Can Burnham play though and make the edge better? Because he's played 19 snaps in 3 games. The last 3 games.
I think both him and Tuihalamaka are guys that make the people around him better. So yeah, they need to play more. He needs to play more.
Final one is linebacker.
I feel like I'm probably higher on this group, so I'll go B.
I was exactly B.
That's what I have too. Yeah.
There we go.
So obviously there's a lot of room for improvement with this defense.
Yeah. Next question is from Emily May. Considering how quickly CJ Carr has improved and settled in as the leader of the offense, do you think ND would have won their first 2 games if Carr had been named the starter earlier? In other words, without the long extended camp battle. Reps with the first team seem to have made a difference.
I don't consider it. I don't look at it like that as much as the game plan against Miami. And look, if you're Mike Denbrock, I understand that. It's really easy now to look back and it's like, what were you thinking? Didn't you know this guy was great? And so he probably should have been a little bit more aggressive with him. I'm sure CJ Carr would have appreciated that. But who was it that said, was it you, Pete, that said he probably knew that they couldn't block?
No, yeah, we both said that, but we're saying, what if the question's asking if he had 2 more weeks to prepare with him.
I understand. To me, I'm sure it wouldn't have hurt, but I don't point to that as much as I do. The reins were on him in the opener against Miami.
Unless that would have helped Emil Wagner and Anthony Knapp, I don't. I think it's an interesting point because I always talk about there's a quarterback competition. Is it going on too long? Is it hurting the cohesiveness of your offense? And I think that's a fair discussion. I just don't think it would have made a difference. Would he have not clapped at the end of the first half against Texas A&M, leading to a fumble that almost turned into a catastrophic field goal? Maybe, I don't know. But I don't think it would have made a difference at all in terms of the Miami performance.
Really interesting thing is when Gerby Lambert moved to right guard, could that have made a difference? If Gerby Lambert moved to right guard,
yeah, that's a good point too.
In April 1st, the moment Charles Jagasa, Charles Jagasa is your best lineman at left tackle and at right guard, could you have repped Gerby Lambert at that spot? It's an interesting because Gerby Lambert's way better than he was in the opener. I mean, Gerby Lambert didn't look like he could play right guard in the opener, much less be a future left tackle. And now it's totally different. I think the offensive line is the key there.
I agree with that. But I think there's something to be said for, we talked about this many times, and Carr never had to compete in practice in his life. I'm sure he did because that's how he's wired. But I think there's some benefit to putting him through that too. We don't know exactly how long it stretched out, how many reps each guy got with the first team. It's a legitimate question, Emily May, but for me, I look more at just the approach. And if you had taken the chains off him a little bit more against Miami, would he have turned the ball over a second
Would he have been
time?
out for the season because Ruben been decapitated?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we don't know. It is what it is. They're 2-2. They earned their 2-2. Good and bad. Question 4 from Michael Kullitz. The only thing I know for certain is that the Miami and A&M games were vastly different than the Purdue and Arkansas games. If you had to choose only one, is that more a result of Notre Dame improving or the quality of the opponents? My vote is the latter, and that it's a reflection of the growing talent disparity in the NIL era.
I like the kicker to that. The NIL era is an interesting thing because Texas A&M, Miami, and Notre Dame are all very heavy NIL programs compared to Purdue and Arkansas. Arkansas is a lot more than Purdue, actually. Actually, Arkansas is probably pretty high in NIL if they are in basketball, right? They're top.
There was some talk. I saw an interview with Pittman that said they were lagging, definitely lagging.
Interesting.
In the SEC.
Their basketball's high.
I know, but somebody has to. Someone has to lag in the SEC. Right, exactly. I mean, it's
I think it's more. I think it's more improvement. Notre Dame, the team I mean, Miami was way better than Purdue and Arkansas. That just obviously goes without saying. But I think Notre Dame just looks like a much better team in Game 4. They didn't even remember. I said to you, Tim, 2 things during game number 1. They're boring. This is boring to watch them play offense. Imagine that. Since then, this is boring. And also, you just didn't recognize Notre Dame and Marcus Freeman had come out and take it to the opponent, win or lose. They look way different to me. Obviously, the opponents are involved.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's a tie. So maybe I'll like Saturday is the tiebreaker for that on me.
Okay,
that makes sense. That's I think it's fair to say it that way. Yeah, Purdue. I think Barry Odom's a good coach. I think he had. When Notre Dame played Purdue, he had maximized his team up to that point. Now, we're not going to pay attention to the rest of the year, and I won't watch any film on Purdue, so I won't.
Plus 9.5 this week only against Illinois. You got the Illinois falling down from the USC upset victory. Yeah. That's a crazy line, 9.5.
Yeah. I mean, look, I don't know if I'd say it's a tie, but I understand the characterization of that because, and I think Boise State is certainly an upgrade from Purdue. Arkansas is better than. I mean, Notre Dame caught them when they were about to split at the seams, obviously, and then Notre Dame's suddenly was playing defense more aggressively and what have you. It's a good question. I'm not sure that the answer necessarily sways anything one way or the other, but Arkansas wasn't very good last week. They're better than what they showed, but Notre Dame made them play poorly too.
Our next question is from an indignant Annie Davis, who ends this question by saying, "This horse is not dead, so I will continue to beat it until it stops moving." Good point. Name your current 3 best players on defense. I bet you all include Kingston Viliamu-Asa in your selections. If you have a unit that is struggling and under fire, such as this defense, can any of you explain how limiting the snaps of one of your best players benefits as a whole?
I don't think it benefits Kingston Viliamu-Asa, and I don't think it benefits the defense. I think it's a good question. It's a legitimate question. Most people would not agree with this, but I would say one of the 3 best players is Christian Gray, because I think he's taken for granted. Leonard Moore hasn't been out there. We're not counting Leonard Moore at all in this, right?
Obviously. No, he's actually number 1 on my best players.
He's number 1 on my list too. Leonard Moore is number 1 on my list for his 2 games and keeping one close against A&M.
I think Christian Gray is and has been a better football player than most people have given him credit for. It's not. I mean, it's easy to be picked on. It's easy to look bad. It's easy to stand out when you get beaten at corner. I think he's a better football player than he's been given credit for. Schuler last week, I think, took a step up, especially coming off the week before. Played half a game. Yeah. Yep.
Mine is more KVA, and Traore still, even though the pressures
Traore,
aren't there.
sure.
Schuler would be the next one. It's just like it's going to take me another month to get past the beating Miami when you stand there and let the receiver run into you play. But Schuler's been the defensive MVP of the last 2 games for me, and he played half a game in one of them because the defense stunk until he got in the game.
I agree with all that. Do I want to see Kingston play more? Yes. Do I think he's criminally underused? No.
That's fair too. We've used fair a lot on this podcast. It's a very fair podcast for him. There's a lot of average. There's a lot of even things going on here. Notre Dame's 2-2. It's average. That's fine. They're good.
Osbury's always good. Like
Osbury is good. He
except when you got to like games 14, 15, 16, and I think
he had the RoboCop arm too on that.
Yeah, exactly. But Osbury's always good.
He could be 5th on this list. Osbury. He starts for sure. Now.
Yeah, Bowen's kind of the last key play against A&M. People will remember that. He's still a good football player. Faremo, I think, belongs out there. He deserves snaps.
Tim Priester, you and I are agreement on. Pete agrees too. Drake Bowen, they had a timeout. It's 4th and 11. You think you know what you're getting, and you have Jaden Osbury, who's a nickel on the sideline, and you keep your mic in to play one-on-one on a tight end. Even if it was zone, he's playing instead of Jaden Osbury there. It was a timeout. Sub. This is the old Pete looks over at me in 2012 and sees Carlo Calabrese on Antavian Edison, and you know it's a touchdown on 4th and goal from the 10. Like, that's on Chris Ash, or that's on the substitution pattern. You have to.
Well, I want to ask that. I want to ask that question.
Max Buller or Chris Ash, yeah.
Who has that changed, Pete? Do you know that for certain that Ash is determining personnel by position?
I do not know that. I'm assuming that it would still be as it always has been, where Bulla determines who the linebackers are.
That's strange.
And you're not, because they were in dime, right? In that situation.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not. I don't think you're taking Drake Bowen off the field there.
I think you have to take Drake
Bowen.
But
But I also don't know if it would have made a difference at all. I'm trying to find the height of that tight end who never catches touchdown passes.
No, I think it would have been because that required the linebacker to come back to the football, and who's more athletic and has better. I don't think that's a. Like a lot of times,
I guess that guy's only 6'4" as I see it. That's actually not that big.
Well, and he didn't, it's not like he leaped, like he leapt.
He posted him up.
Yeah. He caught it
with threw the ball into the post.
Caught it with his stomach. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, give the communication of throw and the catch.
Yeah.
Those people deserve credit for it. But I don't think that was a second guess, right, Tim? That wasn't a second guess. That was why is that happening? Look what just happened.
It was a question. Pete was with me when I asked Ash, what rotations sometimes get you stuck with the wrong personnel? And he said we wouldn't rotate him in if we didn't believe in him. Well, that can't always work because you can't always have somebody better. So would you have Jalen Sneed covering instead of pass rushing because he's rotating in? You have to. There's ways of going about this. And my point is after the timeout, it's kind of like Al Golden and the Jaden Mickey coming in for Tariq Bracy. You would never say Tariq Bracy hurts his ankle, he comes out, and there's no break. You'd be like, oh my God, I can't believe Al Golden didn't realize Jaden Mickey was a freshman in there because he had 6 minutes to realize he was the freshman there, so you don't call the same play. I mean, coaches do a great job, and they can also make a mistake. I think that was an error, and that's how a long way of saying I think Drake Bowen is unfairly criticized right now because he shouldn't have been in there. that was all this was about, was the best 3 players.
That didn't take long to make that point.
Well, this is for Priester. You've talked about one of them. ND Yinzer have Elijah Hughes and Cole Mullins slowly started to force the staff to think or rethink expanding the DT rotation. Both flash when they get out there.
Yeah, I mean, I think Rubio has to play when healthy. Heinisch has to have a role. It's
healthy Dawson. Healthy
Dawson has to be in there too. But I'm more impressed with Mullins than Hughes because I think there's plays where Hughes just gets enveloped. I don't see Mullins getting out physicaled at any time.
Yeah, I think that you can argue to play both of them more. To me, like Ruby is the only one from that group I'd be like, why are you taking Rubio out?
Yeah,
And
he
like
needs his
I
rest,
understand
that's
you
it.
cannot play him and his mustache 100% of the snaps, but like I would have Rubio out there as he is number one, and then there's a gap, but then I think Hughes and Mullins are in that group of with Dawson and Onye and the person that I'm forgetting.
Okay, so now you have a 6-man rotation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You have
Well, I think
have
you got
Gabriel
one,
Rubio and
and then you
5
got
backups.
5-man. If that makes sense. Like
Yes.
I think you got one guy who's
I agree.
let's have Rubio in there at every high leverage
Right.
snap.
So
And then
now,
you could decide who the other guy is.
So I don't think that there's ever going to be like complete satisfaction with who's on the field at defensive tackle. I mean, especially if you still have some holes, and there were holes. I mean, there were plays when Hughes and Rubio were in there and they got gashed up the middle. The biggest offense was, especially when Marcus Freeman explained it. Of course, the 54-yard run by Taylor Green, but I think he was also talking about the 14-yard run by Green in the first series, and that was Tui Alamaka. The other one was Botello. When he described, like, make him pitch the football, that is your job. That's just a bust that shouldn't happen with a defensive end. If that's your absolute game plan with Taylor Green, because he doesn't want to run between the tackles. He wants to go up the sideline. That's why all the highlights of him are him sprinting along the sideline and that beautiful gallop that he has. Man, that's where you can't have those kind of busts with your defensive end when you know exactly what Taylor Green wants to do.
I would just say, like on Rubio, and this is like overly nerdy, there was a play, I don't even remember when it was in the Arkansas game, but like he got double teamed. I think it might have been in the red zone. And like he split the double team in a way you're like, oh, nobody else can do that. Like I asked Freeman today about like Mullins and Hughes, like you say they play hard, like what does that mean? Essentially, like, why doesn't everyone do that?
Well, they don't. Yeah.
And he talked about how like Mullins and Hughes, their motor sort of makes up for some of their lack of physical traits or gifts. Like I think Rubio plays hard and has physical gifts, and that flashed in a couple of moments at Arkansas.
Yeah. I thought that was a really good question, and I enjoyed the answer because I think that there's the perception many times is he's that tall, he's this big, why can't he do? Because human beings are wired differently, man. I mean, they are, whether you want to call it God-given talent or you choose to use a different phrase. That's Mullins, and that's Hughes. Hughes just, I think, gets enveloped a little bit sometimes size-wise, whereas I think Mullins can physically get his way out of jams just about every time, unless he's double teamed and
no one looks good in a double team, even though I gave an example of Rubio looking good in a double team.
No, but I saw Mullins getting pushed on double teams against Arkansas. That's a rarity. That's a trait that I don't know that even Rubio shows that.
Right, but the key to that is when was he getting pushed on double teams? Because when you talk about human beings, Arkansas's human beings quit during that game too. Completely playing football.
Yeah, it would have been. Yeah. It would have been in the third quarter.
Yeah,
I mean, because Mullins didn't.
Right. It's better. It's better to push than be pushed.
It is definitely better. Guys get pushed against double teams a lot, whether the guys are good or not.
And that's why, like, we'll talk. Onye holds a point of attack. Well, that's great, but then at a certain point, you've got to be able to come off that and make a play, and he really doesn't show that ability to do that. Question from Sully Patrick. Listening to an instant analysis after Tuesday's player and coach interviews, I noticed how much fun and joy you three bring to your coverage.
Pete was not involved, by the way. I just want to point that out. Okay, sorry.
I would have been a huge wet blanket on that.
It made me wonder, what's your favorite time of year to cover the football team? Beginning of the season when things are still developing, the middle of the season when the picture starts to become clear, end of season, postseason when you finally get a bit of a break.
Let's not include last year because it's too obvious of an answer.
Yeah.
Let's do a regular year, okay? Last year's pretty clear what the best time of the season was. Regular year, they play a bowl game. Let's say that.
I got three. I love walking into the first day of training camp.
August.
I love the minutes leading up to opening kickoff of the season. And I love getting off the plane in California on Thanksgiving weekend.
That's my number one.
So you enjoy all of it.
That's my favorite.
Which one? Getting off the plane and
it's got nothing to do with the season ending. You have the season that's what the team is and it's part of it. I love the August camp thing. I don't like game one as much because I even like in 3 weeks I'll look back and be like, game one, what? Game one, did that matter? Like you're watching Notre Dame and A&M and everything evolves last year, and you're like, I barely remember that Northern Illinois situation.
I love getting answers finally, and not having to take everyone's word for it from the coach's staff. August
1 or day one of camp is great. I love November football. I'll make, instead of saying getting off the plane in LA, I'll say November football is my favorite time to cover the season because you're now involved in. I can actually listen to someone saying, are they going to make the playoff? Who's going to make the playoff? I think playoff conversations fantastic November 10th and beyond. It's stupid right now. It's so annoying. So I love November football. I love August 1st. I mean, the postseason all depends on last year's postseason compared to the previous two postseasons. Are you kidding? Like
the majesty of the Gator Bowl is not really.
No. The last year's was awesome. I mean, last year's was tremendous. There's no better thing, right? I mean, that was our best.
Incredible. It was.
Yeah.
It was incredible. And going to Atlanta, but like every day one of CC 5, you're starting already because, like you said, and situation, like what was real about the quarterback?
We might have lost Tim a little, but we will get him back because this is a good question, Pete.
You mentioned playoffs in October. He was just I'm not sitting through this conversation.
I think, like the August thing, we missed so much August this year might be the point that was going there. We missed so much August, it made August less fun, right?
Yeah.
This year, I mean, it was difficult. It was really hard to analyze the team.
Yeah, and we failed miserably.
We were poor at it.
So many counts. Like, I mean, I think it was Emily May's question earlier, like about like would Carr have been better if he got more first team reps? One of the untold stories of the season was like, how the hell was there a quarterback competition?
Right.
How is that even possible? The way that Carr is playing right now, it just
that it's crazy to me too. And I could see like having the first bad day. Then you would just figure, all right, well.
Yeah,
everything's fine 4 days later.
Seemed like that was the case.
No, it didn't.
That was bizarre. But yeah, I don't know. This
old school bowl games, Pete, would be high on my list when like Notre Dame would go to the Fiesta Bowl, not only because of Camelback in, but like it's when you're doing like the Sun Bowl and I mean Pinstripe Bowl's the joke we always make, but the Sun Bowl's a great little trip. But I'm saying I don't love that aspect of covering the team because you also have more than half the fan base has turned to the next year.
Yeah, I mean, especially now with the portal being part of that. But like I enjoy the low key nature, the almost no stakes nature of like the Citrus Bowl or the what was the other, the Champs Sports Bowl, like those Brian Kelly bowls. Pinstripe Bowl, no,
right.
But it's like you get to see a little bit more. It's like I love college football games, so it's cool to be at another one, even if the significance of it is questionable. Like the Music City Bowl was cold as hell, and yet that was a pretty sweet game.
It was. Notre Dame generally comes to try hard in bowl games too. The ones we've covered, they do.
Even though I once picked them to not try hard, famously, and blew up in my face, like they hit at a pretty high rate of like we actually want to be here.
Pete, all publicity is good publicity. That has helped you out in life as well. Tim, we lost you during the playoff conversation, but it sounded like you went on to.
I was lost, and now I'm found.
Yeah, you had some thoughts on Notre Dame's playoff odds here on November 2nd. I think you wanted to share.
We know you like to look ahead and not really to care about this team that they're playing in right now.
My favorite part is when I'm going to a Notre Dame game, and it's really important.
November's the time for that.
Yeah. I mean, it's. Right now, I guess they're all important, but I was talking about the experience through the playoffs, which is incredible. I was lucky enough to be in attendance to the 1988 National Championship game, Fiesta Bowl. But hey, when it matters, I can't wait to get to the stadium.
So this is going to sound really weird because they all matter equally right now. But the next game that truly matters, because you're going to know what Notre Dame's season is the beginning and the end of the USC game. Because if Notre Dame loses to Boise State, they were not a playoff team. If Notre Dame loses to NC State, they were not a playoff team. If you play an awesome game against USC and USC plays an awesome game, it's humanly possible to lose a game to USC.
Yes.
But you will know the USC game going in is our next Miami, our next Texas A&M. We're like, oh, this is
Real
big time.
jeopardy.
People are here, and everybody wants to know about this game, as opposed to fans of every other team be like, oh, Notre Dame killed Boise State, or oh, how'd Boise State do that? As opposed to really monitoring and caring.
Well, and it could, and who knows next time Notre Dame plays USC. So
yeah, that's the thing about that.
Yeah.
Final question, because it leads into our predictions from Low Key Scott. This is apparently the largest point spread Boise has ever faced as an underdog. I assume he means since 1999 or 2000. Please provide 1 to 2 reasons why Boise could keep this close and uncomfortable in an already uncomfortably hot stadium Saturday. And why is it 88 degrees, guys, in October in South Bend?
I thought the forecast changed, didn't it?
No, 88 for Saturday.
No kidding. Okay.
88.
So we
I know, 88. Jeez.
we're going to have to talk apparel for Saturday, T.O.
Yeah, I vote more or less is more. Go ahead. 1 or 2 reasons, guys, and then we'll go into our predictions.
I mean, the pass rush that we already talked about, if that does it spring loose at the wrong moment where there's a strip sack, Carr gets hit while he's throwing, maybe it bounces off a DN, goes to a D tackle, it rumbles for a TD or something like that could happen. I mean, Boise State plays enough boomer bust defense that they could boom a couple times, and if that happens at the wrong moment, then the game will be close. If on the flip side of that, they could also get blown out for the very same reason. And then, I'm not a huge Maddox Madsen fan. Like in bigger games, like he got picked off 3 times in the fourth quarter against Penn State. I get it, he's throwing a lot of yards. I don't think Notre Dame's going to trick him. But I just think the size of athlete that he will face on Saturday is going to be very, very difficult for him to deal with. So I guess that's the reason why it wouldn't be close. But the pass rushes, that might be the only reason I could give you, unless the defense really regresses.
That's possible, though. It's unlikely, but it exists.
Yeah. I like if this was last year's Notre Dame defense, I agree completely, but I understand what you're saying. I mean, there's nothing aesthetically impressive about Maddox Madsen. I went back and looked at, I was going through and see who recruited whom, and he was listed as 6 feet tall, and he's a good 2 inches shorter than that. He's a gamer. He's competitive. He'll take a beating and stay out there. By the way, he did have an ankle injury prior to last week's game, and he played, but he'd be a little bit susceptible to getting banged up in this game. But I agree with the pass rush thing, that you just don't know. Boy, let me tell you, if Riley Leonard was the quarterback of this game, he'd rush for 100 yards.
He would have against Miami too. So that would have been a different situation. But it might have taken 22 carries, but Riley Leonard was going to rush for 100 yards against Miami.
So maybe you get a Carr fumble from the pocket and stuff like that. I just don't. But I don't think over the course of 4 quarters that the Boise offense is going to be able to just physically withstand what Notre Dame's going to come at them, bring at them. Spencer Danielson said this is the best defensive front 7 we faced. And first you think, wow, Notre Dame doesn't have a great defensive front 7. And then you think about who Boise State is playing on a regular basis, and you understand that. So I think, I don't think Boise State's going to win. So
I don't either.
I'm not sure how to answer the question.
Well, the pass rush is obviously part of it, because at some point Carr can run into an issue being a freshman.
Yep.
All right, let's be fair and pretend Notre Dame hasn't played defense since the Purdue game. Maddox Madsen would be the living, breathing quarterback walking in right now. So if Notre Dame regresses at all, they're facing the living, breathing quarterback that has guys running up and down the field wide open. Notre Dame has stopped that for the last 3 quarters, 5 of the last 6 quarters. They had guys up and down the field wide open. Arkansas did in the first quarter, like the whole first quarter, guys up and down the field wide open. So that would be one. But I don't expect that regression from Notre Dame. I think Mark Zachary's better now than he was in his first game. I think Pete mentioned Devonta Smith is back and Don Schuler's back.
Tay Johnson is way better.
Tay Johnson's way better. All right. The other weakness for Notre Dame, we still admit, would be the interior. If Arkansas is a different running style than Boise State, obviously, but if you're 0-7 against third and short, you're 0-7 against third and short. What if Boise State's 5 for 8? Then the game's uncomfortably closer than it could have been. That's the only way I could look at it.
That's a great point. Like this would be Notre Dame's offense is so good that the opponent has to play defense with its own offense.
Yes.
So I could see if Boise State tries to like slow the game down and they have a ton of 3rd and 2 and 3rd and 3s and they hit a high rate and like, God, it was a 17-play drive that took 7.5 minutes. That's definitely how you could be close, and then how you would get over the top would be like the funky pass rush stuff that we already talked about.
Predictions?
I think that Notre Dame's offense is a lot more here to stay than its defense. So I go Notre Dame 42-21. I'm not sure the next time I'll pick Notre Dame not to score 40.
That's the question posed to us by Tyler James. When's the next time they don't score 40? I'm with you, Pete. I was 42-20, so I'll keep it there. Stuck that straight in the cover.
The over-unders dropped to 62.5.
Mine is 1.5 point under right there with my 42-20.
Oh, right. I am
a half point over then.
Yeah. The only thing I can pick correctly this year is over-under so far, and so I'm sticking with over until.
You don't think all of us being 2-2 straight up is a good record, Tim? Pretty sure. At least the whole beat is 2-2 straight up.
I finally got a cover on the game itself last week, but because I didn't have it that one-sided, so it almost felt like another loss. But no, I mean, I'm going to stay over until proven otherwise.
I'm with you guys, though. The offense is going to continue in the 40s.
But I said at the top of the show, don't you feel the same way, Tim, that like, how do you pick against Boise just with their history, 20.5?
I think they'll manage the game very, very well. That was my point on the 3rd and short and Maddox Madsen being smart, even if he's overwhelmed. Like you can also go into it. You could also go into this game as your Boise and say, guys, if we could be down 15 points with the ball with 15 minutes left, we got a shot. Notre Dame's not playing football that way, So only one team feels it.
And let me just say, like, I know Boise's gotten their butts kicked at times. I know that they've had 20.5 covered against them before, but I never had to pick that game before. So
you didn't pick the Georgia, the between the hedges game with Georgia, huh?
No. Somebody pointed out to me that I mentioned the games that they, the Fiesta Bowl, the win over Oklahoma, but they did beat Georgia in 2011. How good of a Georgia team was that? Do you remember?
11 was in between the
Boise beat them pretty soundly, or double digits. So, I don't know. I still may pick Notre Dame to cover them because I definitely think that could happen. I think the game could get away from Boise. Just like too much physicality at the line of scrimmage. But I do like I'm just going to stick with a high point total.
That's it for this episode of Irish Illustrated Insider. We will be reporting to you from Notre Dame Stadium. Until then, for Pete Sampson of The Athletic, Tim Priester of Irish Illustrated, I'm Tim O'Malley. Thank you for watching and listening. Irish Illustrated Insider.